How is it going, viewers? Fedora Reshiram here to talk about yet more Pokemon videos. This time using Legends of Arceus footage as well as Sword and Shield to explain why Scarlet and Violet's story needs to be done right, or else this game is just going to flop. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Is there more to us than the words we say, the games we play? Can we know that we're not dreaming?
So, first of all, I'm going to apologize in case you hear over the background. There might be a storm going on where I live. I'm not going to tell you all what's happening outside. Not saying anything related to me, but if you've played Sword and Shield, you know that the story absolutely sucked. It was bare, bland, boring, predictable down to the smallest detail. It was obvious Rose was the villain. It was obvious who the heroes really were. There was very little in the way of mystery. With Legends Arceus, there wasn't really a villain in the sense of what we've come to know in the Pokemon world. There was no secret mafia, no team causing mischief or troubles, or even a red herring team to try and throw us off from who the main villain was and what the end goal of their plan was. No, none of that. Not counting Volo, there isn't a real villain in the story. But we do get someone who acts irrationally in the form of Captain Komodo. Now, I'm sorry to spoil it, but during the story, he banishes you from the village. Big shock. And his actions, while irrational and unfounded at the time, aren't exactly unjustified or taken without reason. He's using the only logic he can find based on what he can see and what makes sense to him. On the night you first appear, a lightning strikes Cleaver, and he goes into a frenzy. Coincidence, perhaps? But it was oddly timed. When the sky goes red, the time rift explodes and expands. Everyone is put off and frightened, and he's a leader. He has to be shown doing something to figure out or fix the situation. Everyone there knows everyone. However, you are a complete and utter stranger who came from the time rift. You have nobody to back you up, verify your identity, and even you don't know anything about yourself or where you come from. All you had were the clothes you were wearing and a phone that Arceus changes to suit your future needs. So, when he kicks you out, banishing you from the village, he's doing it because there are still many suspicious of you, despite what you may or may not have done. And he's actually doing you a potential favor from a certain perspective, because they might have hurt you in some kind of get rid of him now and everything goes back to normal panic feeling, where those who don't know what's going on will try anything to return things to how they were. Even as you're being escorted out, people are muttering things like, "I knew he wasn't trustworthy," or "Why would he do this? It isn't fair. You did nothing wrong. You have no idea how or why the rift acted the way it did or why everything's falling apart. But you are given a task. Figure it out, clear your name, and put everything right." And it's basically all you can do at this point. And this is the kind of storytelling we need in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Not just told through cutscenes, but also with us acting in it. In Sword and Shield, every time something related to the story might be happening, we're told to just ignore it and go on with the gym challenge, or let Leon handle it. Such that when something big does happen, it's near the end of the story, such that we have no choice but to intervene or help in the story. However, in Legends of Arceus, we go through the story and are part of it every step of the way. We interact with the nobles, we interact with the wardens, we see them all glowing in their frenzy, and then see them act calm and pleasant when we've helped them. We see our actions having an impact on the world, not just in the main storyline, but in the subtle lines. When you give the men expanding the fields your Pokemon, you see the fields growing in size when you help out random shopkeepers with their tasks. Their stands grow in variety and visual appearance. We are helping to establish Jubilife Village as more than what it was before because of our actions. Eventually, it slowly begins to look less like a village and more like an actual city. A city we all know in the future as Jubilife City. This is the kind of storytelling and interactivity with the world around us that we need in Scarlet and Violet. It doesn't have to be massively direct or in our face, but it should be in subtle ways. Perhaps because we help out an NPC with a task or give them a Pokemon they need, we meet further down the line, and because we help them, they help us in exchange, or even battle us to show how far they've come since that one time we met them. Another thing we don't need is a pointless mission. What I mean is something similar to what we have in Sword and Shield, where we're waiting on Leon to arrive so that we can eat. Instead of doing the smart and sensible thing and just calling him on the phone to see why he's running late, we instead charge into Rose Tower to rescue him. Like, the only reason we needed to go to Rose Tower was so that we could see Rose as the villain. Motives aside, actions aside, remove the fact that we had to see Rose as the villain. What right or reason did we have to go charging into the tower, battle dozens of employees, and basically cause all kinds of havoc? Heck, even Piers tells us that was heading to Rose Tower. That alone should scream something came up, he'll probably be late. Oh, and guess what? He even said Leon told him to tell his bro he had something to do at Rose Tower, so he'll probably be late for dinner. Even our actions there seem to have zero impact on the world around us. Nobody was talking about how the champion's brother and the gym challenger completing in the next day's competition attacked Rose Tower and went on a rampage, messing up the place. Surely someone would have talked about that. I mean, Bede badly damaged the mural and got kicked out. Us storming Rose Tower on the eve of the championship match should have warranted a punishment of some kind. This is the kind of storytelling we need in Scarlet and Violet. Not the Sword and Shield one. No, I'm talking about the Legends of Arceus one. I believe based on what we've learned, there are going to be branching stories that we can take. With, of course, the obvious one being the big gym challenge. But what I'm hoping is that we can take each one at our own pace, and perhaps even have it so that whichever goal we want to set ourselves for becomes our main storyline. For example, we could do the obvious become the champion, yada yada story we've all done before. We've all done that song and dance routine a dozen times. I think it is a dozen times by now. Or we could do a different storyline, like say help the professor with their research by working on the Pokedex. Instead, we could have it where instead of badges, we earn medals that act the same as badges for ensuring our Pokemon obey us at higher levels. But we can only achieve them by completing the Pokedex and researching the legend of the region, and this affects the game's storyline. What if our rival, who took the gym challenge, whereas we helped the professor, and since our rival never gets their butt kicked over and over and over again by us, they become the champion. But since they focused on winning gyms, they never learned as much about Pokemon. So we combine our powers of learning the region's legend and of Pokemon in general, and they use their super powerful Pokemon to help us during the main climax of the story. Or it could be the reverse, where during the story we learn a bit about the legend of the game through our rival because they chose to help the professor, whereas we chose the gym challenge. And through them, we learn the story, mythos, and legend of the region's legendary, and we use our team of powerful Pokemon with their knowledge to help conclude the main storyline. In any case, these are just my ideas, my thoughts. Tell me what you think of them down below, and hopefully you all liked the video. I hope Scarlet and Violet turn out well, since it's taken on Legends of Arceus and not Sword and Shield. I'm hoping it is good. Until next time, kitties, stay tuned. Bye-bye!
When you've reached the point trust in me, then I'll trust in you. There's nothing more that I need to do. If you put your hands in front of mine, we'll be shining